In this video, we're going to go over the process of bringing in a mission from your flash card drive or SD card or compact flash. So in this case, I'm bringing in a Monitor 5 mission, but the same idea is applied to Monitor 4S as well as Monitor 4 and even Monitor LT. Might as well add that to this as well. The idea is if you go to, you first plug in your thumb drive and then open up GeoTracker. And in this case, my thumb drive is drive letter D, as we can see right here. I know I have mission data on here because if I go into missions, I can see that I have a file here, a data file. Not a big one, but a data file not all the same. And I can see that this one was done in 2020, looks like June 10th, according to the date stamp there. So let's bring this mission in. If I go to Preferences and make sure that that flash card drive is set to the correct letter for USB drive, because that's a Monitor 5 in this case, it's set to D, which it is, I should therefore be able to go to Mission and import Monitor 5. When I do, we'll notice that it does a little importation dance there. Depending on how big the file is, it may take it a minute, but sometimes it can be very, very quick. Once the mission has imported, we can clear the mission off the card. In this case, tell it yes. The only time you'd ever press no is if you're on the phone with us and we're trying to diagnose something. So always press yes to clearing the mission off the card. Now, once we've hit yes, if we go under mission and we go to open, we'll note that that mission that I was looking for is now here. So if I open this mission, we get a little thing here on our map. So what do we have? Well, we have a few things. Firstly, we have the ability to click on Run. And when we do that, we can actually animate our trip here. If we right mouse button click anywhere on one of these breadcrumbs, it'll fast forward to it. We can also, I'm going to let it get to that spray area. We can let it pause when we get to this location. And I'm going to just hit pause right there. But as you notice, from here we can also forward a frame. You can watch the clock right there move. And we can also go backward a frame. As well as being in here, we can tell that they're spraying at this exact moment in time 4.2 ounces a minute and that they're traveling at a speed of 12 miles an hour. We can also see if the satellite count is anything significant and if there's a GPS fix. The gauges down here should also reflect those speeds above. So we have that. What else do we have? Well, we have the ability to look at a report. This will bring up a text report that will give us information based off of our chemical exportations. So in this case, we have our truck. It's got a chemical that's spraying at 1.32 ounces an acre. It went to the spray zone that was programmed on this card labeled Bravo. We traveled a distance of 2.7 miles. Of that, we sprayed 0.2 miles. Using the 300-foot swath rule, we must have sprayed 8.9 acres based off of the distance times width of 300 feet. And we used a total of 5.093 ounces of chemical. The average spray speed was 12.1 miles per hour. It started at this time. We only were spraying for approximately 1 minute, and the end time was this right here. However, the maximum drive speed, not spraying, was 50 miles an hour. The maximum flow rate that we hit, according to the FMI pump, was 4.186 ounces per minute, which that sounds about right. We're not traveling, or our manual flow rate was at a pretty low speed, which gave us an application rate of this. Now this is very different than this, primarily because this looks like this was set to a manual flow rate, which it was, and manual flow rates will tend to throw this value off. However, as long as you're using variable flow on the regular, this number should be very, very close to this number, in the orders of maybe 1/100th of an ounce per acre or so. As of the totals, this is where we see the total miles driven, the total miles sprayed in regular and metric values. Same thing with the volume and area sprayed. You can also see that the time of spray has been set right here, so we know that it was only spraying for 1 minute and 13 seconds, with a total mission trip of only barely 7 minutes. It wasn't a really big mission, as you can kind of see in the map right there. No one populated the drive time cost or the chemical cost, so nothing could be derived from that to tell us how much chemical and vehicle drive costs were in here, but if we had those values punched in for this truck and for this chemical, that would come up here in this report. And we have the active ingredients that we're setting here with the appropriate mix ratio. So we know that in this case, this looks like this is a 1 to 10, 1 to 9 ratio, 1 to 9 ratio looks like, of chemical. So it knows that 1/9 of this 0.04 gallons is actual chemical and not inert. And then from that, it can determine the permethrin and PBO pounds per acre off of that. So that's a report you can generate. Another kind of report you can generate is if you go to File and you go to Build PDF Mission. We'll save this to our desktop here. It names it by default the name of the truck and the start date of the first trip in this mission, but you can call it whatever you want, so that's also changeable. Once you do that, you should get the report created successfully message and press OK. So if I go here, I should now have a PDF file which has that same report right here, but on top of that, it also now has the map. Well, if the map decides to load. Welcome to Google on that one. But anyways, that is the report that you get from here. Now, another thing that you have the ability to do is you have the ability to search over periods of time and location. So in this case, I'm going to look for, let's see, this mission was on 6/22/20 at 13/21/04. So if I were to go to search and go to date and time and set this to 6/22, which I did, and so I'm going to set this to, we'll just say 120 flat, as if we were that precise. If I go to hit OK, it zooms me into that exact time mark. So I can say, if a person's like, okay, in this mission, where was he at 1:20 exactly? I can say he was exactly right there on the map. Right in front of Celery Palm Cove, or getting a little bit past Celery Palm Cove, but before Sipes. I can do that. If you have the ability to do a search, you could also go say, hey, in this mission, where was he at, like in say relation to like maybe Bryson Avenue. If I didn't know that was there on the map, you could actually type in an address. 123 Bryson Ave, Sanford, Florida. Now, of course, that doesn't exist, so I'm just going to do something a little bit more generic because I'm not a Sanfordite. I'll just go Bryson Ave, Sanford, Florida, and there we go. It'll drop me on the map to Bryson, and now I can kind of see where it was in relation to this. So maybe someone called and said, hey, your truck sprayed here, and let's just say you have the address for that spot right there. I could actually say, no, the guy drove by at this area. The closest place that he sprayed was over here. Now, this whole like area over here, what could you do with that? You could actually even get more educational and go to View and Measure and say, sorry, when this guy was spraying, the closest he was to you was, he was 0.93 miles away from you at the closest spot that he was spraying. So no, he did not spray anywhere near you. You can make that, you know, that little test right there. So these are some pieces of information you can generate. Now another thing you can do is, as you import missions over time, under the mission and open function right here, you can open the previously made mission like we did earlier, but you can also search through them. So if you were trying to go, hey, in the month of, okay, so this happened in June, and we'll just say, you know, we're going to look at, sorry, the month of May. Let's try that out. Let's be a little, yeah. So yeah, let's go back here to May 1st, 2021 to now. And just anything that happened 327, or you know what, let's go with like, I don't know, 5,000 feet from 50 Arrow Lane, Sanford, Florida. actually, no, let's do that Brisson one again. There you go, Brisson, Sanford, Florida. Get coordinates. Oh, wait a minute, that was in 2020. That's why I'm not finding it. I was going to say, it's like, come on now. So yeah, if I were to say between January 1st of 2020 to now, yes, the mission comes up. But if I'm only looking for missions in 2021, as you can see as I'm surfing through here, the mission goes away. So this is a way that you can actually quickly search through missions that are in your mission catalog for things. Like if you got a customer that says you haven't sprayed here in over a month, or you haven't sprayed here all year, you can actually do searches in here with all your missions and generate, what you have and have not done in those locations. Another thing you have the ability to do too is, as time goes on, I'm sure you're going to have missions in here that are what we like to call garbage missions, where a person just turns the truck on, turns the truck off, doesn't even spray. If you have it set up and wired into your truck to record that, then they're going to probably start populating here as such. You can either change the wiring and use a switch to make sure that doesn't happen, or if you go into here, you can actually filter out things. So in this case, you only sprayed a very tiny amount. So because of that, I could say, well, if the person hasn't sprayed any more than, say, 10 ounces of spray, I don't want to see it. And obviously it hides it. But if you ever want to see it back again, if you go hit 0, it returns. Or if they didn't, if the person didn't drive more than 5 miles, I don't want to see it. Or I do want to see it. And so on and so forth. So these are little things you can do to surf through your missions. The last thing I want to show you is if you have parking lot download as an option. Now, a lot of people don't have it, but if you do have parking lot download, you bring in your missions similarly by going into mission and get missions from server. Right here, it's going to do a little dance, and then it's going to start bringing in missions. So we tell it yes, and it's going to start doing a little parking lot download thing here. As you can see right down here, it's pulling up the missions. What it's doing is it's reaching out to the cloud and getting the missions that are being held on our cloud FTP server. And once it pulls them down, you'll now have them on your computer. This might take it a moment. And there we go. Parking lot download of 2 missions successfully. Cool. So in this case, this is where you don't have to bring the cards in. They just automatically pull from the wireless access point. It is to note to make sure if you're going to use parking lot download that you do have a network that can support this and that your network team is fully aware. If your network team does not wish to have these kind of things on their network, parking lot download is not for you. But if they're cool with it, parking lot download may be a good option for you. Anyways, if you go into mission and you go to open, you'll note now that those things that you brought down have now came in. So now we can just open up any one of these missions and see what we see. So not much of a mission here. This is probably somebody trying to just function test their sprayer, but there you go. That's how that works. And then everything else that we've shown you before is now the same. So that is all there is to bringing in missions. Now, I do want to show one last thing here, and that is where are these missions being stored in the files that are being made. Now, earlier we set this up that it works off of the C ground folder, or wherever you end up sending it to. Now, what you'll notice is your chemical settings, your drivers, your network settings, your sites of interest, truck zones and trucks, or spray zones and trucks, are all located here. Another thing to note is any of those spray zones that you drew are going to be GeoJSON files that show up in here. But most importantly, this index file, that's your trip information. That's all of your missions, that's all your reports, but it also, while it's keeping it in here, keeps a raw data copy in this missions folder. So these 3 missions right here consist of the raw data file that came from the monitor, and the event logs and stuff that comes with, the report that it generated, you can see here's that copy of that report, as well as your mission in shapefile format. So if you have ArcGIS or some sort of shapefile viewer, the points and lines will be contained as well. So the points will hold things such as the actual breadcrumb trail of the mission, and lines will actually carry the spray swath of the truck. So That's just something I wanted to bring up because I know some people are Esri shapefile fans and they want to know, hey, I'm being looked after too. And as you can see, oh yes, you are being looked after. Well, anyways, that's all for now. In the next video here, we're going to go over some of the tools and whatnot that are found in GeoTracker. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.